Yeah, I figured I may as well shoot another video, being that I can't fucking go outside. It's that hot. These two really want to go outside, and they're not. I got nothing. Go away. Go lay down. I got no food. You're not going out. Got to keep hydrated here. But anyway, we're going back and forth with some people about 50s monster movies and 50s horror movies in general. And it's 50s basically there was a plethora of stuff out there. Um, but I think some of the major companies like Columbia, Universal, Warner Brothers, MGM, whatever, they were sort of trying to emulate what AIP, American International Pictures, had done with lower budgets. And mainly because of the work of Paul Blaisdell, films like The She Creature, Day the World Ended, Invasion of the Saucer Men, and others were unique because Paul could basically create something out of nothing, and his designs were unique. Where the more moneyed companies, well, depending on what was going on, and I already went over, the Sam Katzman Columbia output with, their, seems like their B-roll pictures were like Zombies of Moritar, Creature with the Atom Brain, what the hell was the other one? The Giant Claw, which we all laugh at. And I know I'm missing one here. The Werewolf. Okay, but Columbia also had Ray Harryhausen stuff, like It Came From Beneath the Sea, 20 Million Miles to Earth, things like that. So they had, the higher budget to do that. The strange one is that Universal Pictures put out a huge output of sci-fi monster movies in the 50s. Some were good, some were so-so. Thing is, being that, we got to go to the kiddie matinees when I was a kid, all this stuff was sort of recycled into, double features for the kiddie matinee. So I saw a lot of Universal stuff back there. And of course, the one movie that they did that really knocked it out of the park was The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Because here's a 50s monster that basically became a classic monster along Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy and the Phantom of the Opera. So that says a lot for The Creature. And of course, The Creature was one of the most enduring, 50s films, which spawned two sequels, Revenge of the Creature and The Creature Walks Among Us. I got to see The Creature from the Black Lagoon and Revenge of the Creature at the Embassy Theater on the big screen. It wasn't the 3D stuff, but nevertheless, it was cool to actually see that movie on the big screen. But, like I said, Universal put out a plethora of, sci-fi and horror stuff, which, they put out two sets now. I don't know if these are still available because it looks like they sold a lot of their stuff to Shout Factory. But, they had these two sets out, and it's like, all right, some were good and some were not so good. One was called The Monolith Monsters. It had a great concept, this meteor crash lands in the desert, and water makes it grow, and when it grows, it sucks the silicone out of anybody who's close to it, turning them into rocks. So, of course, there's some kind of, rainstorm, which activates these huge rocks. They grow into like these huge towering spires and then fall down, crushing everything in their path. Well, as a kid, you want to see monsters, not fucking big rocks that fall down. So we sort of poo-pooed that one. Another one they did, and everybody was big into big bugs back then because of the atomic radiation and shit like that. So they had a film called Tarantula, which basically was a giant tarantula that was, used for experiments. Escapes from Leo J. Carroll's lab because he's playing around with some chemicals and acromegaly, and of course a couple of his assistants get acromegaly. One assistant goes berserk and gives him acromegaly, which basically it's what Andre the Giant and Rondo Hatton had. Your face swells up, you get disfigured, your hands and feet swell. It's not a cool thing. But anyway, of course, they had the prerequisite real spider running around, then a buildup of a bigger spider's face that was in windows and in your face and shit like that. And the one thing uncredited in this film was that the fighter pilot that incinerated the tarantula at the end was none other than Clint Eastwood in an uncredited role as the jet pilot. So The other thing, another film came up was the Mole People. Now, you've seen pictures of the Mole People, and you think they're supposed to be the bad guys, but they're not. The Mole People with these big claws and shit are basically slaves to these other people that are albinos. You can throw a class war in there. Here's the darker Mole People and the whiter albino people. And like I said, they're basically slaves, and John Agar and company, Hugh Beaumont, Nestor Pavia go down and fall into this, whatever. And the only one killed is Nestor by the Mole People by accident. He's pulled under. At the end, of course, the Mole People revolt on their albino masters, and then there's this big sunlight into the thing, which they can't stand sunlight, and that's that. Kind of lame, because if the Mole People were actually monsters, they would have been cool ripping people up. But no, like I said, it played out more of like a class warfare thing. Another one was Monster on the Campus, where Arthur Franz somehow gets some prehistoric frozen fish that thawed out. Blood goes into his pipe somehow, and he turns into the Neanderthal man, which goes around, killing people. That one wasn't too bad. Then you've got the Deadly Mantis. Now, the Deadly Mantis wasn't too bad, except, for the close-ups and, the mantis doing things, and I guess the mantis is eating everybody it comes in contact with. It's pretty cool. I had it on an 8mm film, and it sort of ends, I think, in the Midtown Tunnel or something where they gas it. But some of the close-ups of the thing are pretty scary and pretty cool. And then we come to, oh, God, the Land Unknown. The old, somehow they went below the South Pole into this area that survived time and dropped in there. And of course, there's some guy who's been down there for a while who's fucking with everybody. They got a T-Rex. They got a Plesiosaurus. The T-Rex is, of course, a man in a suit. But those people that are opposed to animal cruelty will definitely shut this off, as I got disgusted with it myself, because instead of, animated monsters, stop motion monsters, whatever, they actually had two monitor lizards, and from what I can notice, they're savanna monitors. They tear each other apart for real. The blood is real, the clawing is real, the dead lizard is real. It's pretty fucked up, but then again, they did this in 1 million BC back in the 30s when Hal Roach did it, and you're gluing fins to alligators and monitors and throwing them together, and of course they're going to attack each other and they're going to kill each other, and the blood's fucking real. So, everybody's shit on the cannibal films for doing all this crazy shit, which I don't condone either, but, here's an example of, 50s stuff where basically they killed fucking lizards to make a movie. So, that's all the ones on that one. The one that really knocked it out of the park, however, was Warner Brothers, because they came up with shit like this. Them, the giant killer ants, the Ray Harryhausen film Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which featured a very young Lee Van Cleef who shot the monster. And here's one that, I don't know, for some reason it either fell through the cracks or doesn't get the respect it deserves, but that's The Black Scorpion, another Warner Brothers film. The special effects were done by Willis O'Brien and Pete Peterson. This is a nasty, ugly fucking scorpion. They come up in Mexico because of a volcanic eruption. They're eating people. They derail the train. They're picking people up in their pincers and killing them and shit like that. And they kill them all except for the main big scorpion, who basically has to be lured into a bullfighting arena with a truckload of raw meat, and they get him in there and the army basically kills him. It's a lot of action. Perennial 50s hero Richard Denning is the star, and the effects are top notch. So again, I don't understand why this film doesn't seem to get any respect. Willis O'Brien and Pete Peterson also, I could be wrong on this. I've been trying to dig for some information, but I know they had worked on The Giant Behemoth, another 50s Monster on the Rampage film, directed by Eugene Laurie, who also directed Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and Gorgo. I believe they also had something to do with The Beast of Hollow Mountain, which was, a realization. I think that Willis O'Brien always wanted to do a dinosaur and cowboy thing, as did Harryhausen, which he did in Valley of Gwangi. But this one's really cool because it has one T-Rex that basically was living in the swamp in Mexico and eating somebody's cattle. And, ranchers are blaming each other, but then, the monster comes out. And the stop motion stuff is great on this thing. Western star Guy Madison is the star of it. And another cool movie, which basically it got released as a Blu-ray and it looks gorgeous, but I think it's pretty much out of print. So, like I said, the 50s were full of great black and white horror, monster movies. And, the Atomic Age and all the other stuff ushered it in. And like I said, AIP might have been the lower end company, but sometimes they put out the better product and the scarier product. So, then like I said, Universal sort of, floundered with some of this stuff, and, the other companies were good. So it's all a great trip down memory lane to see some of these films the way they were meant to be seen, restored on Blu-ray and high def and all this other stuff. So that's our episode for today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. And we'll catch you on the flip side.